Oh, I've been meaning to tell you. I started watching, or not watching, but reading the Joker War saga.
Did you?
Yeah, yeah. I
Whoa.
bought on Google. I Googled it, and then on Google like books or whatever,
Yeah.
they had the entire like collection of comic books in one thing, and it was only like $9. I was like, oh hell yeah!
Yeah.
So I've been like flipping through it on my iPad. It's crazy.
It's good, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that Joker War is really good.
Yeah, man. I haven't gotten to the part where that you were talking about yet, but I'm excited to read it.
Yeah.
And the art of it, it's so amazing.
It's
Like
so good.
I actually haven't read a comic book in such a long time. Like
Yeah.
it's amazing to go back and like look at them now because they, just like everything else, everything evolves and everything.
Yep.
But yeah, the
Things
artistry
change.
of it,
Yep.
yeah, so good.
It actually has changed it so much.
Yeah.
You're like, shit, man. These are the comics that owe me. Take a little piece of change, yeah. Put a little change out the frame.
Yeah, like I don't understand like with the live action movies, just like have people who write the comic books or write your animated shows. Write the
Absolutely.
movies.
That's especially how I feel with like DC.
Yes. Yeah.
Like DC, a buddy of mine, me and a buddy of mine had a conversation because he feels like all the DC movies are better than every Marvel movie, and I strongly disagree.
Yeah.
But and I like the DC movies. They're just not better than the Marvel movie. Not better than they're better than some of the Marvel movies
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
They're not all hits, but that being said, my hope is that whoever the team that is that writes the cartoons, just let them write the movies.
Yes. Yeah, those are so good. Like anytime I see one come up, I was like, I know what I'm watching right now.
Yeah, I know I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like there's ever been a miss. I've never watched one and been like,
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think my favorite is the Flashpoint paradox. Like that one's
that's
one of my
really good.
favorites.
Justice League War,
Yeah.
Flashpoint
Yeah.
Paradox. Judas Contract was good. Got a little weird there, but Judas Contract was good.
Hush was good.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many. There's one other was it the Dark Side? Man, I can't remember if it was the Dark Side of the Doomsday one, but or Dark Side. I think it was the Dark Side one or whatever, but those are all pretty good. But I mean even the Justice League versus the Teen Titans one was good. Like that, they just don't really miss in those areas.
No.
And even if one is not as good as the other, like they all still great for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they definitely need to do that shit.
Yeah, like I don't know if they just don't talk to each other. It's like, no, we're live action. What you wanna bow up?
Live action doesn't want those problems. Though.
Yeah. Live action will catch some hands.
Yeah. Live action would catch the hands. Absolutely, man. That's funny. I like that. Yeah. And I think he thinks that I like shitting on DC just for the sake of shitting on DC. Nah, I think DC is good. Like I still buy DC comics.
Mm-hmm.
I support the DC animated releases.
Yeah.
But I objectively like the movies.
Yeah. I like them for the most part. Some of them, are misses in my books.
Mm-hmm.
But I still enjoy them. Like as much as I was perturbed about the Batman because I had been telling my friends about this story that I was writing. And as soon as the Batman comes out, I was like, that's my fucking story. That's my fucking story. It's like, I want to focus on the detective part of Batman.
Yeah.
It's like, we haven't got to see that in live action.
No, we don't get detective
I
Batman.
want this serial killer to be on the loose. And like, you get like some senses of like Silence of the Lambs or like they're talking to someone incarcerated, like maybe the Joker or somebody else. And then, it comes out and I was like, fuck, man. I don't want to like it, but I do because it was good.
It was good.
It was good.
It was good. I often say that Pattinson is my favorite Batman. Like Affleck is my favorite Batman, physicality wise.
Right. Yeah.
Outside of that, it is Pattinson. Like when you're talking about a detective-ish Batman, like because those are the two things that for me make up Batman.
Yeah.
Is the physicality and then the mind, like this detective Batman thing.
Yeah, he's the world's greatest detective.
Yep. And those two things have, I feel, never truly existed in one Batman in the movies. Mm-hmm. And so if you were to break them apart, then Affleck is my favorite physical.
Yeah.
Pattinson is my favorite like detective.
Yeah.
And he was new detective Batman. I think they say he said he was only detective for like 2 years or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish they would have done the kind of Flashpoint story early on. Like even after maybe we had a few incarnations of Batman on live screen, because I feel like DC more than Marvel a little bit kind of did the multiverse kind of thing a little bit better. Because I don't know, maybe I guess I didn't read a whole lot of Marvel comics growing up. I focused more on the X-Men side of things.
Oh,
on Marvel.
by the way, X-Men is jumping off right now. X-Men is really good right now.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I have to check some of the names
X-Men
out.
is in their bag. Like X-Men are probably living some of their best life outside of like the Hickman run, but
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mainly focused, like Batman was my guy. That was the character I was drawn to.
Mm-hmm.
You got the tattoo
Yep.
and everything. Yeah, I wish they would have kind of done the Flashpoint in live action, and so we get to see, and it brings all of those kind of worlds together. It's like, okay, yes, you have the Adam West in one world, you have the Christian Bale in another world,
Yeah.
the Michael Keaton in another world, and maybe not like run that dry. It's like, oh yeah, have them in every movie together all the time, but like maybe have one story kind of meld in. He's like, maybe you have a Christian Bale dropping into Tim Burton's Gotham, and it's like, what is this? But I don't know. That's where I feel like the comic books really hit it. Is like, those different worlds you get to see, and you know it's Batman, but it's a different version of Batman.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully the movies start to catch up, live action at least. But I don't know. We'll see.
Keep that in mind that there's a part of you that wants all those worlds together, because I think soon you personally will get something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so.
I mean, we got it a little bit in the newest Flash movie with Keaton coming in and everything.
Yep. And you kind of get that with what is it? It was that one where they see the Supermans, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because they did a similar thing.
Yeah.
You see all the Superman.
I saw the Nicolas Cage.
The Nick Cage Superman
that never came to fruition.
Yep. That was the Kevin Smith Superman. I think it was.
That was Tim Miller, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the guy that did Wolverine.
Okay.
Or Logan. I mean.
Logan.
Yeah. Which I love that movie as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was a comic book film.
Yeah. Because like you take the mutant out of it, you take any like superhero thing out of the movie, and it's this indie film about this kind of shitty dad that gets thrown a kid that he doesn't want, and he has to take care of, and he grows to love her and like take care of her and everything. Then you have the old dad that he's taking care of as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that scene when he comes in after he's been stabbed and he's like, it wasn't me. Like, I started tearing up there because like, you can see in Xavier's eyes, like he saw Logan stab him. I was like, no.
Yep. Yeah, Logan is definitely up there for me. But like I said, it presents so much different than like any comic book film that's really out there. Like there's not another comic book equivalent to Logan.
Absolutely.
Like you said, like you can take, like that movie can play in front of almost anybody, and like they can see past the claws and stuff. And really, it's kind of easy because he didn't use them that much because at that point he wasn't that same Wolverine. You know, I remember before the movie got like out there, and people were asking me kind of what it's about or what would you compare it to. I was like, I wouldn't compare it to anything, but I'll tell you, this is what it's like if Usain Bolt was the fastest man in the world for a long time, and then he doesn't run for 10, 12, maybe even 20 years, and then one day he's asked to be the fastest man in the world again, and has to be. Like, that's the movie.
Yeah.
Like, he hasn't been Wolverine in so long, and then one day he just has to be Wolverine again. Yeah. Like, he has to be like Wolverine, but also Wolverine the dad, and Wolverine, not just the dad to 23, but he's the father of the future, because he has to save all the, not the new mutants as far as movies go, but he has to save all the next generation of mutants, you know. From what, Sentinel Services? Yeah, because they're not the Sentinels anymore. I think it's and then this far off future. And so it was really good.
Yeah, it's I don't know, as far as comic book movies as a whole, I am getting a little fatigued on them.
Okay.
Just because there's so many, and then you have the shows, and like I enjoy them for the most part. Did you watch Secret Invasion?
I haven't finished it. I think I'm in like episode 3 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't the biggest fan.
I heard somebody else kind of made a criticism, like in passing. I tried to like, kind of.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much. But
Yeah.
I was just, I don't know. After you finish it, I'd like to discuss it.
Absolutely.
I don't want to say anything more. I want to welcome somebody I consider a good friend, podcast producer, creative person, all around, kind of Renaissance man, Tvhead Jimmy.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, man. This is fun. It's been I don't know. I say it's been a while. I don't know if I've ever been on anybody else's show.
Really?
Yeah, I think this is the first somebody else's show that I've ever been on.
Okay. All right. So tell our maybe 5 followers what's your podcast does.
So I produce a podcast called Records on Repeat. You never hear me on the show. There's one episode, maybe 2 that you hear me on. There's 2 episodes that you hear me on, and that's kind of like we run like. So I do like the thing where like I'm sound checking, but I'm kind of recording, and then so like somebody will say something funny, and I'll use that to kind of open the show. So like there'll be like maybe a good like 10 seconds of that clip, and then it goes into the theme song and stuff like that. And so I'm in those like every once in a while, and it's usually me laughing in the background because I have a mic as the producer. I have a mic, but when the show is running, when I'm sound checking them, my mic isn't on.
Right.
And so I just sound check them. Like, because I know, like, even when I watch other shows, listen to other shows, sometimes, like, the producer does have a mic and they'll chime in.
Yeah.
Every once in a while. I've never chimed in. But yeah, so I produce that show. So I run the sound, do all of that stuff. Help get guests, but my help is not like the showrunner, Autumn. Excuse me. When she shoots her shot, she shoots her shot. She is a shot shooter. She's not afraid to message anybody.
Yeah.
And it is worked out tremendously every time. She nails that shit. Other than that, I produce music as well. I just pulled off one of my dreams and finally formed Voltron. So yeah, for about a year, I've been trying to get like different people together to like bring them together to form a group. And so I was trying to do it through different like ways of like tagging them in each other's posts. And I now they know I did this. I've now they know I've orchestrated this because I've let the cat out of the bag. And so I wanted originally these two guys to meet. And so like this guy would release some music and I would like put his music in a story or something like that, but then tag this guy in it, tag the other guy in it.
Yeah.
And then when this guy released music, but I'd tag this guy in it,
Yeah.
And then I met another guy while I was out at some open mics and stuff. And so I kept putting them all in. And then finally, like last week, maybe early this week, this is that recent. And so I put everybody in like a group chat and I just hit like, play basically. And so I really, I don't want to say worried, but I was under what I felt was a pressure to figure out how I was going to get all these guys on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like coordinate and get them interested in the music and in each other and everything like that. But basically, after I hit play, like two of the guys started going back and forth, and then three of them did. And on their own, they were like, well, we should meet up. And like, okay. And then they figured out their own time, and they were like, well, where are we going to meet? And I was like, well, we could meet at the place that I'm kind of helping taking care of right now, or we can meet at the studio. And they're like, well, let's just go to the studio. And then once we got there, they were still mixing it up and everything. And they figured out that they have similar ideas and dreams for music and stuff like that. And the whole time I'm just sitting back and I was like, no shit. I fucking did it. And like it was a really big moment. Like in my life currently, I really needed a win, And even though there's several like losses around it, man, I look at this win that I got right there and I'm like, what a moment.
Yeah, it's
What a moment.
Someday hang your hat on. It's a stepping stone.
It is. And so produce film. So anything production wise, I kind of do and stuff like that. And I don't want to just produce those guys. I want to perform and write with those guys. But so yeah, those are like the production things I do. So
yeah. And you also have Intelligentsia Noir.
I do. I have that. Yeah. I have that show too. Yeah. It's funny that one. Like I go about getting guests for some reason much easier for records on repeat than I do my own show. Cause I'll meet a person every once in a while and I'll be like, hey, you want to be on my show? And they're like, yeah, that's cool. But like to go to like, if somebody would have told me like, hey, this guy from the Toadies, you should go talk to him. He can be on your show. I'd be like, nah, he ain't got time for my show.
Yeah.
But she's like, nah, that motherfucker gonna be on my show. I wish I could tell you kind of some of the stuff that she got in the works, but since it's her baby, I'm not gonna let you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But she shoots her shot. Now I tell you, I've tried like her level of audacity, and it doesn't work for me. Like I messaged Shaq one time, and never heard back from Shaq, of course, right? And then Lil Nas X. And I messaged Lil Nas X because Lil Nas X made a song that like really inspired me, and so like I just really was like, you know what, I'm gonna shoot my shot, see if Lil Nas X will come on the show. And so because I don't know if you heard the song Star Walking.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, yeah, that song should inspire dang near anybody.
Yeah.
And so it was that song. Like I even put that song in my watch because, well, that's a different story. But I put it in my watch and I listened to it a lot, So now I will tell you, I host the B-sides. We do basically a post show.
Right, on records on repeat,
yep.
Right? Yeah.
And it's called the B-sides. And so I host the B-sides, but it's on Patreon. And so people don't hear the B-sides. Right. Like it's, it's not on Spotify or anything like that. Yeah. And so, shit, man, some of those are long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, unless there's like a cutoff, like I know one of those is like, I know one of them is 2 hours, but I cut it in half.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when you sit down and you start talking, you get, invested in the conversation. You look down, it's 2 hours, 3 hours later.
Yep.
You're like, oh, luckily I had enough space on my hard drive.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. You got to buy like the 256. Yeah, you got to buy the 256 where it says like you got like 300 hours.
Yeah.
That was so funny because when I first started doing shows and production and stuff like that, like that's what I was worried about because like my first ever episode was me doing Comic-Con coverage.
Okay.
And so like, I listen to it now. And I was like, oh, it's so dorky. I would still do that though. I like stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I just listened to that version of myself, and I was like, but I didn't know. And that episode was maybe 15, 20 minutes. It wasn't anything crazy. And I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to get any kind of length of time. And then I had a buddy on to do a movie review with me, and that one was something like a 2, maybe 3 hour episode. And I was like, well, figured out how I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it was a hill that was a lot less harder to climb than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. And I feel like most people are like that. Even people that are a little more closed off, especially if there's no camera, like if they know they're not being watched, and they just feel like they're having a conversation.
Yeah.
Most people, they will talk to other people, maybe not in a public setting, but like in a, intimate environment, just like one-on-one, people, they'll talk your ear off.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will. We only ever had what I felt. I don't know. Like, there was only one guest that was like the least talkative.
Yeah.
Out of everybody, but everybody that's come on that show has like been super talkative. Also, and I said this shit today because we recorded an episode today. Everybody that's been on that show, like, if for nothing else, if somebody listens to that show, they can be like, everybody on this show sounds good. And I don't say that just because I'm the guy that runs the fucking sound. Like, they sound like they have voices that are made for microphones. Like, and I don't know if it's because we do a music podcast and everybody that's come on has either been like musically inclined or some kind of artistically inclined. But like I hear them talk on the mic and like I'm doing sound checks and like I'll be like, God, y'all sound so good. Like like we had a girl on today and her voice was incredible. And then in season 1, because we're recording season 2 now, I think we got 4 in the can.
Okay.
And so, but in season 1 we had a lady named Carly Dumanel, and Carly has almost the Emma Stone voice.
Okay, a little raspy.
Yeah, like a little harsh. Like,
yeah.
I was like, just read the instructions on the soap.
Read through this dictionary for me.
Yeah. Like I was like, God, it's such a good voice. And in the B-sides, I do tell her though. That's like one of my favorite voices. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and that's another thing is like, when you, so I have them like not tell me like about like what they're gonna do, stuff like that. And then there's parts of me that like almost become fans of them. And so when it comes my turn to talk, like I really have to like instantly dial it back because I don't want to be like, motherfucker, you the coolest. You know? That shit was crazy. You know, kind of thing. And so, I just, because I always mentally take my notes like as I'm listening. Because it really like, I get educated with the audience.
Yeah.
Like that's why like I had them quit telling me like what albums they were gonna do, and even the person, like I don't even look up the people. I always try to guess what they look like before they come in, and I've gotten it wrong really every time. I think the only one that was close might have been Carly. She was the closest, but everybody else was way off for me. Way off. And like, except for I knew two of them.
Yeah.
I knew two of them. And so like, I obviously knew who I had, but yeah. So
Yeah, that's the thing about, what I try and do for this show. I didn't want to. So my brother-in-law and I, we talked about, maybe discussing like one topic for, the podcast. That was what the podcast was about.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just like, we can do that. It's just going to be such a niche thing that if we want a broader audience, like maybe let's just hang out and talk,
Yeah.
Just like talk about anything, whatever comes to mind. Like, yeah, maybe we have a topic or two that we want to discuss.
yeah.
And that's kind of what I like about the episodes that we have so far is like, we'll have that topic, but then sometimes we go off on tangents and talk about other stuff. For me, that's a lot of like mental health stuff and everything. So I went through my own shit. But the episode with Panda, the third episode, it was totally unplanned. We shot that directly after we shot the second episode.
Okay.
So we shot the second episode, and then Panda showed up, and we're like, let's just shoot another
No
one.
shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's that behind the scenes shit.
yeah,
That's
it's
cool,
behind
man.
the scenes.
Yeah,
man.
I would have never guessed watching the episodes.
Yeah, I put a sweatshirt on. That's why.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
But no, that episode, he's my cousin, but like I didn't know like he went to rehab, even though he was an addict. Like I didn't know that, so I was learning stuff as well. It's probably one of our most popular episodes because it was genuine and real.
Yeah.
And I see that's what's attracting people. Like we talk about aliens and stuff, and like it's not going to interest everybody.
I've watched every episode though.
Well, I
so,
appreciate
yeah.
that. I
watched
appreciate
every episode.
that.
Yeah,
And that's what I told my brother-in-law because like he was almost a little skeptical about doing the Panda episode, and we had already filmed it. And he's like, I don't know, maybe we should hold off. He's like, maybe we just stick to one topic, and I was like, I don't think so. Like not like I don't think so, but
yeah, like no, like I think we got it. Yeah,
but I was like, no, I believe me, I've edited the episode. It's a great fucking episode.
Yeah,
and I think just like a lot of the bigger podcasts, like think of like the Joe Rogan podcast. They don't talk about the same thing every single one.
Nah, absolutely not.
And like sometimes, like some people might be attracted to a certain episode, and then if they don't like the next episode, they don't have to listen to it. I don't want to say that I'm not catering to the audience. Like in some ways I am. But I wanted to do this for me to be able to talk about anything I wanted to,
Absolutely.
or have anybody on the show that wanted to talk about anything. Excuse me. Speaking of,
yeah,
Tvhead Jimmy.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever asked you where was that derived from.
yeah. Easy answer.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I was in college, me and another guy linked up to do music, and he was a radio DJ for the university.
Okay.
And so he asked me and some other guys to come on and just do like, so me and some other guys they used to sit outside of the dorms or even in the dorms, wherever they could, and they would just make up music right there on the spot.
Oh, nice.
And we were on the track team together, and one day he lumbered by, because he's a really big guy. So he lumbers by, and he was like, y'all should come do that on the radio. And it was really as simple as that. And so everybody was like, all right, cool. And so they spent all week beating their chest, talking about like how they're going to be on the radio. They're telling everybody that'll listen. And I remember like at the time, like I was just a kid from Amarillo. Like I go to college with guys from Atlanta and these places in like Fort Lauderdale and Miami, Florida and stuff like that. And so it was these guys from, these places, and like I used to sit back and kind of marvel at the fact that they would just do this. And so but some part of me, I knew I wanted it. And so I would go to my room and I would secretly write music and stuff like that. And so the day comes, we finally go to the show. And he kind of tells us the setup, and he's like, all right, I'm going to do a few songs, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut, because this was on like a Tuesday, and so he has his show was called Turntable Tuesdays, and so there's just a part where he just does like, he was old school DJs, the vinyl, everything,
Nice.
and so he was like, I'm going to play a few records, and then I'm going to cut into the instrumentals, and whenever you're ready, y'all just cut in. And we were like, okay, cool. Or they were like, okay, cool. And so, but there's a thing that when people get in front of this, you freeze.
Yeah.
You freeze. It'll turn the biggest man into ant. Like it takes everything out of you. And it did that. And like all these guys who were good, like none of them had anything to say. And so like I remember it was just like a movie. Like, so he's scratching, and he switches over, and he switches to an instrumental that is roughly, in the same timing that I wrote a song to.
Oh, nice.
And so it, like, I was like, oh shit.
He's there. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun.
It's my 8 Mile. I was like, oh, this is my mama shit. Right. And so I like stroll up to the mic, and I become uncharacteristically not myself. And I'm like yelling at the mic. I'm like, yo, what's up, it's your man? And then I launch into it, and like they're in the background going crazy. They're going crazy in the background. But I've always told people this. It's like, I don't think it was because my first rhymes I ever wrote were that dope. I just think they were so used to me not, because I never rapped in front of them.
Okay.
As much as we went out and did it all the time, I just liked being around it. And so they was like, oh. And so he kept inviting us back, and eventually I was the only one left. Then I started hosting the show with him. Then we eventually do music together. So he was DJ Boog.
Okay.
Was his name. And then he just ends up going by Boog. And I used to change names like every week because I thought it was funny. Like one time I put my headphones on, but I put one like over, like I put them like this, and so I said my name was DJ R. And then I had my hair, I had longer hair than I have now, and I said like one time I had it in the big fro, and I put the headphones on, I had the big thing, and I said I was DJ Afro Thunder that day. And then so my family calls me Deuce, and so one day I called myself El Duce. And but that was the one. I went back to campus, and everybody was like El Duce. And like that's how I knew, like, okay, that's the name, that's over. So then I just went by Deuce, and then I went by Deuce, aka the Lost Prophet Third Eye, which was a whole mouthful. But then like people started calling me Third Eye. And so we performed music, like even out of school, we performed music for a while. And we performed at a few different venues around Kansas and some other states and stuff like that. Then I came back here, and I wanted to work on a project that was different than hip hop. I wanted to do like electronic and almost like EDM style music. And so I wanted people to know it was me, but when you hear Third Eye, you expect like hip hop music. And when you hear whatever it was going to be,
right,
you heard that music. And so I was like, okay, well, what's a play off of Third Eye? And so I thought about it, and it was, when you have a third eye, you can see visions, you receive visions through your third eye, but you can also project visions from your third eye. If you project visions from your third eye, you have a TV head.
Okay.
And so that was the joke with TV head. And then the Jimmy, somebody else, so I was telling somebody about this kind of epiphany that I had. And I said, so I'm TV head. And they kind of said like Tvhead Jimmy, because they were trying to figure out what the J would be for, because it was still TJ.
Oh, yeah.
And so they were like, Tvhead Jimmy. And I don't know why, but I thought that shit was hilarious. And I'm sure it was only like 3 minutes, but I feel like I laughed at that shit for like 15 minutes. And then I was like, no, but seriously, I'm Tvhead Jimmy now.
Nice.
And so that's how I got the Tvhead Jimmy.
Nice. Yeah, I've never heard that story.
Yep.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I wanted to talk about with you, you know, I don't. You knew me before I moved to LA, and obviously you know me now. I wanted to get your opinion. Do you see a difference in those two people?
Yeah, sure. I would be a little heartbroken if I didn't, honestly, because there's people that I do also know from that same period of time that I thought I saw the growth in. There's definitely. Here's what I'll say this. So, do I see change? Yes, but I see growth as well.
Okay.
Because I think there's a difference. Like, change doesn't mean growth.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Because there's people that I know from that same period of time that I've seen change in, but I haven't seen growth in.
Yeah, it's like you can go a week without showering, change clothes, but you're still the dirty ass bitch that you were 10 minutes ago.
Yep. And so, and I don't think I would have been life-threateningly disappointed, but I have been disappointed in them because I always thought like I guess when you think you and some other people are cut from kind of a similar cloth, or like, no, I remember we kind of came up though, and we was couch surfing, and we, how did you not keep that humility about you, like kind of thing. And so, but yes, I do.
All right. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And you were one of the only people that, like, of a handful of people I kept in contact with from when I moved out there. Because I remember, every now and then we didn't talk all the time, but like we talked every now and then.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was like, I won't lie, whenever I was deciding to move back last year, one thing I was really afraid of was like I had built this community out there of like really genuine people, like really creative people.
Which they say it's hard to do in LA.
It is.
Especially when you said genuine, because they say people are flaky.
Yes. Oh, so much so.
Yeah,
so
they say people are flaky. I've never been out there, so I can't call it. But
no, it's definitely like, it's when you find that friend or a group of friends that you like and like to be around, but not only that, just like work with and like create with, like it's almost kind of a once in a lifetime kind of thing out there. Cause you meet so many people, it's just so many people out there and everyone's doing similar things. But it can be a very hard place to build genuine friendships. Because, everyone's out there for themselves and, rightfully so. Everyone's
that's fair, yeah.
Yeah, pursuing a dream. So, to each their own. But still, you want that community. Like, everyone wants that, not necessarily safety net, but like that support group, I guess. But you were one of the only people from back here that, like, we didn't even really know each other that long. It was it was maybe 2-3 years.
That's about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I've always, I feel lucky in that I've been able to find really genuine people and become friends with them. And I consider you one of those people. Like, I think you're one of the most genuine people out there. And like, that's why I like being around you, talking with you. I eventually want to help create stuff with you.
Absolutely.
But it made me feel so good to have something back here, because that was something I was afraid of moving back here. Is like, I'm going to lose everything that I've built out there and like this community, and I'm not going to be able to create back in Amarillo. But it excited me that I knew you were still here doing your thing. And so it gave me hope in a sense. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for holding down the fort over here.
I don't think I could have done any differently. It's what I've always wanted to see and be a part of and do.
Yeah. Like last episode, I was talking about the writers and actors strike going on right now. and how it can be easy for other people to say, just go do something else. But I feel like we as creative people, we think differently than that. Like it's not something that we just can't do.
Yeah.
Like I get depressed when I don't like release my creativity, like do something creative. Like I get depressed and it's like, then I just don't want to do anything. I'm just like,
it's bad news.
Yeah. It sucks. But to that point, you made this video that I feel everybody should see.
Okay.
But I want you, if you would elaborate a little bit. In the video you said, like you mentioned earlier, you've had some losses recently.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one particular day you posted this video and you said, "Today I showed up for myself."
Yeah.
Like if you could elaborate it.
Okay.
On what
you
that
want to
was.
hear that one?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so when you've taken several losses, it's, for me, I can't speak for everybody,
Yeah.
but I will kind of speak. I am going to kind of speak in the general term because I feel it's more than just me that feels like this.
Definitely.
So, when you've taken quite a few losses in a row, you almost look for a win anywhere you can take it. But here's the thing, like, it only might look like a win, but it might not necessarily be a win, and it might be another loss that kind of sets you up for losses down the road. And so I dodged it essentially because like I didn't go down kind of like that despair spiral. And so so the scenario to kind of put it out there was I was approached by somebody who took something from me, quite a few things from me, and they don't know that I feel that way about them, which is a rare thing for me, because usually, like, if I feel some kind of way about, like, unless it's just like, there's part of me sometimes that feels like, like you ain't even worth the bother.
Right.
But most of the time, like, if I feel some kind of way about something, like, I just address it. But this person doesn't know, like, that I feel like that about them. But so they wanted to kind of like come back into my life and be cool. And like I'm missing a lot of pieces as far as like people and stuff like that. And there was a part of me that partially considered it, and it would have broken the monotony of being lonely.
Right.
It would have broken silence, because I sit to myself a lot. So part of that was like I went out, and I've been going out a lot more lately, but it's in the name of self-preservation.
Yeah.
It isn't because I like going out, sure, but it wasn't in the name of going out.
Yeah.
Excuse me, and having a good time.
Yeah.
It was in the name of self-preservation, and not kind of sitting in my own silence. And so I was out, and that person just happened to be out, and so I was like, okay, and so, but there was one point in the night where like this version of me, like, this is me, and then like the version of me that I was hoping would come was like, and was like, nah, keep it moving, buddy. And so like I did it, I did it. And here's the thing is, like, I feel like if I'd have let that person back into my life, it would have hurt me in the future, but it would also hurt future relationships that I really actually care about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I know for me personally that person can't be trusted, and I shouldn't trust them just because I'm lonely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, like, that was it. Like, I showed up for myself, and I didn't cause any more damage to myself, and I'm really hoping that small bet pays off.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's what it was. Yeah, and maybe I'll come to mind. I won't say the person's name.
Yeah,
But maybe as we talk, I'll come to mind and tell you what that person did to me as we kind of discuss further. But
yeah. Yeah, I when I saw that, I think showing up for yourself can mean so many different things. And I was interested to know a little bit more, and so thank you for sharing that. But like I feel, because I've been depressed a lot. I was suicidal for a little while, and there are times where I wish I would have showed up for myself.
Yeah,
It's like when you get in those deep moments, like it feels like the world's against you and nobody loves you, and like you start to dwell in it, and you want to be in it almost. Like at least
you almost feel like you deserve to be in it.
Yes, exactly.
It's not that you want to be in it, but you feel like you deserve to be in it.
You feel deserved, and like that's been a recurring thing in my life. Is like I've always had this inferiority complex. Like I've always felt like I've never been good enough. From like certain things with my dad or whatever. Like I would do everything that everybody asked me to do, and it still wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Just like, what do I need to do for you to love me or to make you happy?
Absolutely.
And it's like, I wish I could go and talk to my younger self and just like slap the shit out of me.
If we only know, but what do they say? You don't know what you don't know. Like,
true.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when I heard that story from that video you posted, it reminded me of this story in my life. Growing up, I was a pretty fat kid. Like I was really, really chubby. It was weird. Like when I was pretty young, I was like super skinny, like flag football. I was a quarterback. I was running around just like, they were like, hey, if you don't see anybody open, just run the ball.
Run it, yeah.
And I would go out. I wouldn't even look. I would just take off.
Like, oh, what? Nobody? Guess I got to run again. Yeah.
But then like a few years later, I just blew up. Like I went from, going flag football to padded football, tackle football. I went from being a quarterback to being an offensive lineman.
Okay.
I had grown wider that much. And that was kind of like elementary, middle school. But then like in like the second year of middle school, played football, and I had the same coach from in like my first padded football, and he was such a good dude. Like he was just one of those guys that like he was a genuine guy. Like
I was gonna say a genuine dude. Yeah,
he was a genuine dude, and like he was a great coach. He not necessarily forced me, but he told me that I was going to be running track.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. He's like, all right, you're going to be in the mile. And I was like, I was this fat kid. I was like, all right, coach.
even you saying that now, like as a race. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, it was. I remember like practicing, just running around the football field, just like hunching over, throwing up. And then like the day of the first track meet, I wasn't ready whatsoever. Like I think I hadn't even finished a mile in practice. So, most of the day I'm just sitting out on the field with my friends, hanging out, and then like towards the latter part of the day, it was the mile, and so I go up to the pack, and like they shoot the gun, and I'm with the pack for like the first like maybe 100 yards, and then they just take off, and I'm just sitting back there just jogging as fast as I can, and I got lapped multiple times. Like it came down to just me on the track, and I was taking so long that the next race was a hurdle. So they were setting up the hurdles, and they go over the intercom, and they're like, all the rest of the racers, please move to the inside track. And I was like, man, I'm the only one. Like, you got to call me out like that? But to my point, to your videos, showing up for yourself, there was a moment where I was coming around that last curve. I don't know what it was. It was me showing up for myself. I decided to put everything out there, everything else I had left. And so I sprinted the last 100 yards, and like I start to see out of the corner of my eye people like getting up and cheering. My coach was on the inside of the field. He was running with me down the track. And, you know, I crossed the finish line and I just collapsed. And a coach from another team came and picked me up. And, like, he shook my hand. He was like, that was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And that for me was like me showing up for myself.
It was, yeah, it absolutely was.
And so, like, I that's why I connected with that story so much, and I wanted to talk about it. I think it's important for people to show up for themselves.
Yeah,
you know.
And so using you as still the analogy there. I mean, I know for you it's a real story, but even if we just turn that to an analogy, right? So, like that fight at the end after all of that, and even like the optics that you give about like the world or the track meet kind of around you continuing to move on while you're still like, look, I'm still out here doing this. I'm still out here just trying to run my race.
Yeah.
You know, and everything is changing and it's shifting around you, and you know, you're trying to do what you can do, and people are asking you to move over and everything like that. And I think that's very much the way like this kind of works when you're in those places.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it's all you feel like even that's the feeling like nobody has time for your shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? But and then so like comes this moment where you show up for yourself and you're like, look, I don't know how much I got left. I don't know what I got left, but I gotta do something.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta show up.
Yeah.
And so you do, and what you don't realize, and I think what people don't realize is, even though there are people, you know, largely there's this thing of like the don't care, but there are people watching, and there are people like, you know, hoping that you show up, and they're watching you, and they're wanting to see what you're made out of, and in your case, like, there's no way they can help you. You had to help yourself in that moment. Now, me, sometimes I am screaming out for help. Like, motherfuckers, I need help. Like, help me. Shit, somebody jump in. But in some cases, maybe somebody can't, but they're watching you to like, sit. And like you said, the moment as you collapsed and somebody immediately grabbed you and like, you know, came and, you know, now you've ran to a place, or you finally made it to a place where somebody can jump in.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Hey, you made it," and that was that. Hey, I know that shit. It didn't look great, and it looked hard for you, but that shit was hard. You know what I mean? You know, and it was. I don't know if you ever, as you're kind of telling this, I imagine I don't know if you ever watched the Stars series Spartacus.
Oh yeah.
Okay, because there's those moments where like when a gladiator will show heart, like they completely get their ass kicked by like Crixus or Spartacus in training or whatever, but they keep getting back up, and eventually all the other guys like do the shield pound thing or whatever to them. You know, I think that definitely happened in like near the end of season 1 or something like that. Especially with the two brothers, I think that was one of the things. And so I feel like that is a great story when you talk about showing up for yourself.
Yeah. It falls in line with what you were saying earlier. It's like you have these losses around you, but if you could find some way to show up for yourself, like I've learned that like the energy you put out, it will be reciprocated to you in some way. So it's like, you know, you said you're hoping that one thing that you did is going to pay off in the future, and I think it will. Yeah. You know, because like unfortunately, I don't have the best relationship with my dad. I had to kind of cut him out of my life because like he was one of those people that I just knew would bring me back or keep me stagnant. It wouldn't have. I'm sure if I would have still been talking to him before I moved to LA, I probably wouldn't have moved to LA. Okay. And moving to LA was, I think, one of the best things I've ever done. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it was one of the best things I've ever done.
I'd probably agree with you. I've known a few people, a handful that I can name, because it would be you, Steve, Skylar, Wes, Colleen, and I feel like y'all have all been the better for it.
Yeah, yeah. I that's why I asked you like if you saw a change of me from back then till now, because I definitely feel different. I feel like I'm a completely different person than who I was. Like I never I was always the quiet person. Like I never used to talk, and like going out there, I gained so much confidence in myself. Like I still struggle with confidence in myself. I've gone to therapy, and it's funny. Like I was talking to my therapist one time, and we were talking about work, and I mentioned that I felt like I haven't been paid what I feel like I'm worth. And she's like, I want you to say that again.
Child. Absolutely. I'm kind of. Anyways, continue. Because I want to hear this. Go.
Yeah, she was like, I want you to say that again. I was like, what? She's like, you just said that you feel like you've never been paid what you're worth. Like, I want you hold yourself in a higher regard for work than you do in your own personal life. And you need to start to apply that to your personal life because you are one and the same. And for me, it was kind of from my upbringing. It's like I've always held work because I was told young, it's like, get a job. So I got a job and I became a really good worker. And it was like, you're working too much. And it's like, you told me to get a job.
Hey, same Denzel Washington point hands, same exact story.
Yeah.
Same exact story. I always thought it was so weird. So we don't have to compare note for notes, but it was. I attach a lot of my self-worth to at least the monetization of myself, which I guess is a kind of a self-worth.
Yeah.
To my work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of going through that now because I am, looking for other like means of work. Mm-hmm. But I look at like some of the things that like people want and then what they want to pay versus what they want. And I'm like, it's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough because like my last corporate job that I had, I was delivering for Lowe's. Mm-hmm. I was delivering anything, sheetrock.
Yeah.
Actual rocks. We've delivered actual Pepsi, just a liter of Pepsi, delivered detergent, and delivered a Slim Jim, which we thought was funny, which makes that like something like a $60 Slim Jim.
Jeez.
Yeah, because if you pay X amount or if you buy like an appliance, like the delivery is free. At that point, but like under a certain thing, like you pay, I think deliveries are like $60, or at least it was. Jeez. And so somebody wanted us just to deliver detergent. And here's the thing, like I'm not so ableist where I wouldn't think like for somebody that's more convenient than them getting out to get it. Yeah. Right. Because at that time, this was, I wasn't working there forever, but it was just pre-pandemic. Mm-hmm. And so like not everybody was doing like deliveries like they are now. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so like now we look at it and be like, they could have just had like they have the Walmart Spark people, but I'm trying to think of one of those people that go shop for you, one of those apps.
Oh yeah, like Instacart.
There you go, an Instacart. That's the one I'm trying to think of. Right? And so it wasn't like that. And so for some people, I get the convenience of that. Mm-hmm. Right? I wouldn't have done it, but I'm not that person.
Yeah.
But I say all that to say, like, those are joking things, but they couldn't have paid me for the time I lost with actual people, the time I lost even just my time, the wear and tear on it that it does to your bodies and joints, and your body and your joints and stuff like that. And like after doing that, I know, especially if you want physical labor out of me, you just gonna have to pay more.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to pay more. And so I completely agree. And so like I was taught like always work and always even try to be the best at working, but I was never taught how to take time off. Like when I look back at my family, we didn't travel for shit. Like there's between me and my sisters, there's one like vacation that we remember. Like we went and visited family, but like doing a vacation thing, like there's one that we remember, and we even have like little home videos of it. But like my mother was a teacher and my father was in the military, and so like I don't remember days off, and so like that's kind of how. And now that they get old, all of a sudden they got the nerve to tell me like you need to take time off, like take care of yourself. And I'm like, motherfucker, that wasn't part of the lesson plan, so I don't know what you're talking about. That was not in the syllabus. I don't remember none of this shit. Like, you know what I mean? So
no, I got here, shut up, I'm working nights.
Yeah. Weekends if I need to. Yeah. And so yeah.
And then close the door. I'm not trying to air condition the whole neighborhood.
Yep. right down there. And so yeah, that's I got that same kind of whatever that was, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes it tough now because, like, you know, I did miss my family when I was living out there. You know, and I sacrificed a lot of time with them, which I don't think they fully understand why I was doing it. And it's hard for me to explain. Like, I feel like you might understand it. Like I said, creative people just think differently, and it's like I needed to be out there. It's something I felt like deep down in me that I needed, and it was great. You know, I got to experience a lot. I got to learn a lot. Like I failed a lot, but I learned from those failures, and I hope they don't hold it against me now. I don't know. I don't think they do, but I hope that they wouldn't.
Yeah.
You know, I was just doing what I felt I needed to do. And it was weird once I moved out of Amarillo, I realized how much of a bubble Amarillo is. And I wish more people got the chance to experience life outside of here. Because I'm not saying living in Amarillo is bad, but to experience a different lifestyle or culture or whatever, it can be eye-opening.
I think that part is important though.
Yeah, like I had my eyes open to so many different things, you know, because like LA is such a big place. Like it's a melting pot. Like you go a couple miles this way, you're in Little Armenia, and then you go to like Little Tokyo,
like, K-Town.
K-Town. Like,
absolutely.
And it's all super authentic too. Like I had some of the craziest food in. Like
I know I can't even imagine. Like I'm already mad talking. Though San Diego was dope, but
I do love San Diego.
I've been to San Diego, but I haven't.
Yeah, I will say if I ever do move back to California, it'll probably be San Diego.
Yeah,
like I love San Diego. San Diego's just beautiful. A lot of LA can be ugly and dirty. Like I avoided Hollywood like the plague.
That's what they say though. They say Hollywood is dirtier than what you would imagine.
Yeah, it's super dirty, and like Hollywood Boulevard's like if I didn't ever have to go back there in my life, I wouldn't. Because you're getting hounded by the street performers.
Yeah.
And you know it's very touristy, so there's a shit ton of people all the time, and there's nowhere to park. And when you do park, it's in a lot that costs $30. So I avoided Hollywood as much as possible. But like there's so many different places, and I think like that's the thing about LA. It's such a big place that you can go to another part of the city and feel like you're in a different city. Like you go downtown, it feels like you're in New York because like you have the skyscrapers and everything. Then you go to Santa Monica, you have the beach. You go to Malibu, it's a completely different beach. It's different. Like you have hiking, you can drive up to wine country. You can drive an hour to Mount Baldy, super cheap lift tickets to go snowboarding or skiing.
You're not too far from Vegas either, are you?
No, I went to Vegas multiple times.
Okay, so I've never even been to Vegas.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, my traveling is shit, man.
So earlier you told me you never used a koozie.
Yeah. I never use the koozie. That's true.
So you've never used a koozie. You've never been to Vegas.
Yeah, not once. Not even really that close. I don't think.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I the first time I went to Vegas, it was on my 26th birthday.
Okay.
Yeah, I was with some. My birthday falls around Thanksgiving, so I think my birthday happened to be the Friday after Thanksgiving this year. Most of the time I would spend Thanksgiving in LA, and then I would come to Amarillo for Christmas. So I would go over to some friend's place for Thanksgiving, and we were talking on Thanksgiving night. We'd eaten, we're just hanging out, watching TV, chilling. And I guess like the topic of Vegas came up. I was like, oh yeah, I've never been to Vegas before. Right then there was like, Luxor, book a room. We drove there that night, stayed there until Sunday. It was a good time.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always tell people I don't know what to like. When I say I don't know what to expect from Vegas, I mean from me.
Yeah.
I don't care what Vegas has to throw at me. I don't know how I'm gonna react to it, but that's like the beauty of it. Like I'm like, hey man, I just so y'all DD me. Like yeah, just
Yeah, I was talking with Joe on the last episode. I was like, and one of our cousins texted us after the episode aired, and he was like, "Yeah, y'all right. You got to have a plan." And that's the thing is like, you can go to Vegas without a plan, but you end up doing so much walking. It's so fucking hot.
Okay.
Like when we were there last a couple years ago in July, it was like 105 degrees, and we're walking up and down the strip just dripping in sweat.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I hate this. But like I text my cousin back. I was like, yeah, I want to, maybe catch a show one night. Like they just built that big ass orb. Have you seen pictures of that?
They put the eye and the baseball and all kinds of stuff on
David
there.
Lynch's he made a movie specifically for that.
Oh, okay.
Like, and you can buy tickets of like $60 a ticket. One of my coworkers is going there in November, I think.
So they just project it all over the whole dome.
Yeah, so like inside there are seats, and it's like a 360 projection.
That's cool.
Yeah,
like a planetarium kind of setup.
Yeah, and I think there's an orchestra down at the bottom too.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It'd be awesome. So I say like, have a day, catch a show or two. Have a day where you rent a cabana at one of the nice pools, so you have this nice pool day, your own cabana, not just like mingling with other people.
Yeah.
And then have some places you want to go eat, because like there are some really good Best Friends. We talked about on the last episode. Best Friends is amazing. Like, it was this Korean chef that started in LA with a food truck. He had Korean street tacos.
Okay.
But then he made Best Friends, and I want to say it's at Park MGM, but amazing fucking food. Like kimchi fried rice, like this form of like teriyaki chicken. He had the tacos on the chef menu. It was so good. But then just like on the downtime, spend some time in the casino. Like it's easy to spend so much money in the casino, because like you sit there and like when you're gambling, they'll bring you free drinks.
Yeah.
Like, the girls will come in, just like take your order and bring you a free drink as long as you're gambling.
Yeah,
because you're essentially just giving the house money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you've earned those free drinks. Yeah,
yeah.
How about you?
But yeah, once you like just keep walking around and everything, you get tired, and then it's like, man, I don't want to do anything tomorrow. It's like, no, let's go to the pool, or let's do whatever. But like, as long as you have like a plan or a few things you want to do, like, I think that's the way to go.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd say 2 to 3 days max. Like, people that go for a week, I'm just like, what is wrong? Who hurt you?
I would probably like to do like 4.
Yeah.
I could see myself doing 4 days in something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel like I give everything like, so my one of my, maybe my first big like out like adventure thing was like going to Comic-Con. Like,
okay.
I have a home girl, and we're kind of her comic book entourage kind of thing. And so she one year was like, y'all want to go to Comic-Con? And I was like, yeah. And like there's all Comic-Cons, but when people say you want to go to Comic-Con, they're talking about San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
That's what they're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's New York, Dallas, like, but San Diego's Comic-Con.
Yeah, when you say Comic-Con, it's San Diego.
It's San Diego.
Yeah.
And so I was like, sure. And so we went, and she got us like basically press passes. And so like we got there on like a Wednesday or something like that. And so for everybody else, Comic-Con is I think Friday, Saturday, Sunday or something like that. But for us, it was something like even kind of late Wednesday, but it was like Wednesday, Thursday, because nobody was there except for like exclusive people. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so, and with our passes, we just got in everywhere. And what I tell people about, I say a similar thing about Comic-Con versus, you know, based on like my first experience with it. And it's like, you don't know you have to have a plan, but you do. Because like even getting across the convention floor, like if you just walk across the convention floor, like, yeah, you'll make it from one end to the other. But like if you just stop and see everything and try everything and take pictures with everybody and kind of do what you want to do, like it'll take you forever. Like you might make it across in a day.
Yeah.
But like there's just so much to do, and it's so big. And then in the middle of making it, they'll be had like, oh, we're doing the panel in Hall H, which is like I think one of the more famous halls. Hall H, you know, this hall or this hall, you know. And so like you be like, well, I gotta show up and get in line for 4 hours, you know, like. And so, and then there's food and going to the different places, and then some restaurants transform into like things from Comic-Con. Okay. So there's one that turns itself into like Eureka, and there's another one that turns itself into, you know, and then there's people performing downtown. You know, I think my first year there, me and my buddy were walking downtown. I think we were looking for pizza, if I'm not mistaken. And David Hasselhoff all of a sudden starts performing in the middle of downtown. Nice. And it was just the weirdest shit ever. But I was just like, what? And so it was cool though.
Yeah.
It was cool, yeah. Yeah, so but yeah, so I get that. So based off the Comic-Con like model, I would go 4.
Yeah.
But you said 3, so that's not like a stretch. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's
not
a stretch. Yeah.
Yeah, if you go like
the 6-7 days. Yeah.
Like I don't know. They're either on copious amounts of cocaine or they're doing speed or something. I don't know. Like
play.
And maybe that's just maybe that's me that I just go too hard on.
Like I said, I don't know what to expect out of myself if I go to Vegas. Ooh.
Yeah, I unfortunately I never got to go to Comic-Con. There was one point where I don't know if I ever told you I was almost the Red Power Ranger.
I think we have only lightly discussed this.
Okay. Yeah, so when I was doing the acting thing, I went on this I had gotten this manager, and I went on this audition, and it was for Power Rangers. It was the TV show, not the movie. It was right before they made the movie, but it was for the TV show. And at that time, it was airing on Nickelodeon.
Okay.
So I went and did the audition, and I thought it went well. I left. I felt good about it. I called my manager up. I was like, yeah, I think it went pretty well. She's like, all right, I'll wait to hear from the casting director or the casting office. I didn't hear anything. I was like, all right, I didn't get it, and like that's the thing when you go on so many auditions. It's like you might really want something, but it's like you just got to let it go and just like move on to the next one. Yeah. Because I think it was like my second audition of the day, so I was like, all right, I have to. This was in. Luckily, that one was super close. It was. I was living in North Hollywood, and it was in Burbank, so it was not that far of a drive. But then after that, I had an audition in Santa Monica, which is it's funny. It's not that long of a distance, like actually.
This is what I was gonna ask, yeah.
But it would take during rush hour maybe an hour or two. It's like if you get on the 405, God, that thing was always a parking lot.
That's
No matter what time of day it was.
That's the Hall H.
Yeah,
That's the one people know when they talk about LA traffic. People talk about the 405.
Oh, it's horrible. I'll tell another story. But so like I had this other audition. I just forgot about that audition for the time being. You know, it was still on my mind, but I was doing this other audition. I didn't hear anything back. You know, it was a week passed, 2 weeks passed, and it's like at this point it's a year later, and it's not even on my mind anymore. My manager calls me up. It's like, hey, they want to bring you back for Power Rangers. I was like, that was a year ago. She was like, yeah, I guess. So apparently, you know, Nick Saban, who originally created
the guy,
he originally created the Power Rangers. It was this, like, they bought the rights back from Nickelodeon. So there was this whole process that they had to go through and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, yeah, they want to bring you back. I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. So at the time, I was in much better shape, and you know, at that time I was working out like probably 4 hours a day. Like I was doing, you remember those workouts called Insanity?
Mm-hmm.
I would do that as soon as I woke up. You know, it was about 45 minutes to an hour, maybe sometimes an hour and a half, and then go to the gym directly after that for a few hours. So I look back at pictures and I don't even recognize myself. I'm like, who was that guy? Like, why can't I be that guy now? But so I was feeling myself back then.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much. Like I've never really felt myself. Like,
but a little more, just the most. Probably the most. If you will,
yeah. So you know, I go to the audition and it's the same casting director from a year ago, and as soon as I walk in, like I've never had this happen with any other casting director. I walk in, she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you're here." It was like, I'm so glad you remember me. Like, I was like, I didn't think I made that much of an impression, but she's like, "Oh, I think you're perfect for this." And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" I'm like, I feel really good about this. And so I do the audition, and she's like, "I'm telling you right now, I'm giving you a call back to producers. Like, I want you to meet them. I think they're gonna love you." And she's like, "Do you know karate?" I was like, "No, but I can learn." She's like,
see, wrong answer.
I know.
You're supposed to say, when she says, "Do you know karate?" Be like, "No, bitch, but I know crazy." And that is supposed to be your answer. That's the answer, yeah. And she'd be like, "Well, I can fuck with crazy."
So, you know, I get, my manager gets the date and everything. So I go to in the meantime, you know, I'm looking at YouTube videos. Like I put a little routine together.
Absolutely, of course,
yeah. So I go to the producer audition, and you know, I read for them. They give me a scene. I read some sides, and they're like, "All right, can you do a little karate routine for us?" So I did my thing. They're like, "Wow, how long you've been doing karate?" And I'm an honest guy. I should have held back, but I was like, you know what? I just learned this like a week ago. Yeah. They're like, wow, that was really good. Unfortunately, I didn't. Well, I think I could have got it.
Okay.
I think I could have. I did have an agent at the time as well. My agents were, because I was signed across the board. I was signed theatrically and commercially. At the time, they were with Buckwald Talent, which is not the biggest agency, but it was getting up there.
Okay.
They were like, look, the show is a non-union show. So the rates aren't that great. And a lot of what is kind of going on with the strikes right now is there's like merchandise that gets made in your likeness that you don't see a penny from. And so they're like, look, if you really want to do it, then we'll back you, but we don't think you should. And I was like, fuck, man. Like, I could be the Red Power Ranger. Yeah. And I don't remember if it was ever a thing where, you know, I said no. I don't think it was a thing that I said no. Like, I think if they would have offered it, I would have said yes. But I don't think it ever came to that point. But that talk with my agents was always in the back of my head. And I was like, and then I started doing my own research. It's like, where are the previous Power Ranger actors now, and it's like not a lot of them are doing a lot of stuff now. So I was like, I don't know if I want like to be known as the Power Ranger guy.
Yeah.
So, you know, I didn't get it. I wasn't offered it, whatever the case was. But it would have been cool. Like, I could have been the Red Power Ranger. I would have went to New Zealand for, like, 6 months.
That'd have been cool. I think all the Power Rangers are known as Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they ever outlived.
Yeah.
Like, even the most famous one, like, he never outlived.
Yeah, Tommy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason David Frank.
Yep.
Yeah.
R.I.P., man.
He never outlived. Like, and he was the closest.
Mm-hmm.
He was the closest for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he did a lot of taking his own destiny to his own hands, as far as like either trying to escape it or embracing it and stuff like that. Because he walked around as both the white and the green.
Yeah.
And so that was always a big thing, and people are always excited to see. Like I said, he's the biggest one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he even did like did he produce the movie or direct it or something like that?
I think, yeah, he had something to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did something else that I think is supposed to be coming out.
Yes, I was gonna say he has a project that's still to come.
Yeah. I think it was.
I think this is what I'm thinking of. Yep.
The last thing he did. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I as far as like the acting world, I still love it. Like I still love acting. Like it's one of my favorite passions. But having gone through. So my agents at the time, they were with Buckwald. They eventually got recruited to Abrams Artists, which was probably one of the top 5 agencies in LA. They called me up. They're like, "Hey, we're moving to Abrams Artists. We want to bring you along." I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Like Abrams, like to have that on my resume. It's like, it's gonna come across a casting director's desk and it's like, "Oh yeah, we got to see this guy." Like going through the business part of it, I guess it just put a really bad taste in my mouth. Like
I would believe that.
There were so many things that, like, I remember going on like some agent auditions, like when I was trying to get an agent. This one, it was like you have to play their game, and I'm not one to like, kind of bend the knee. so like they're like, they expect you to have your own like fully fledged business. Like, well, you don't have that many Instagram followers. It was like when Instagram was like first starting, and I was just like, what the fuck do you care about Instagram? And it's like now I see it was like, oh, you just want to bank off of my work,
right?
There was this other one, like so much subtle racism. Like I went on this one audition, read, it was like I don't want to brag, but I know the read was great. Like I know it was fucking phenomenal. And like even afterwards, like my manager called me. She's like, they think you're fucking amazing. Like they think you're gonna book everything. But I was like, there's always a but. They don't think you have an edge. And she was like,
I already continue.
Yeah. And she was like, I'm not sure what that means. And I was like, I know exactly what that means. I'm a Mexican American guy.
It is, yep.
They don't see me as the cholo that they want to send me out. That's
what it
as.
Was. Yep.
And I was like, look, if they want me to come in and hold a knife to the neck, I'll fucking do it. I'll play the role. It's a role. I'm not going to play that every single time. But if they don't want to, I saw myself more as a leading guy, and like that's what I wanted to go out as. But people didn't see me that way, unfortunately, and it sucked, And it was, I feel like I was right on the like the bubble was here, and I was getting pressed up against the bubble. But then, like as soon as I kind of like backed away and like moved more into the production side of things, someone just like came and popped that bubble, and now we see all this inclusion. We got Blue Beetle.
Yeah,
I could have been Blue Beetle.
I could, yeah. Sholo, I could have been Blue Beetle. That gummy Sholo.
But no, I'm happy. I'm happy for those people. I'm glad.
Of course, absolutely.
I'm glad to see that more people are getting opportunities, and that's why, like, one thing I love about the production side of things too is, like, I've talked about this with you. Like, moving back here, one of my big goals is to, build a studio here that can offer those opportunities to talent here, because I feel like being out there is one thing. Like, you can turn left and right and see a creative person, but like here, they're almost kind of like pushed underground, and like you have to search for them.
Right.
And I want to give this place where people can come and create and be creative and express all of that, because I know there's a lot of creative people here, and like I've come to find that there are a lot of people here, and I want to help facilitate that. I'm not looking for the credit. I'm just like, oh yeah, I did this. Like, all these people, I did this. There is a part of me that would like that, but not necessarily. That's not what I'm searching for. Like, I'm searching. Like, I like to cater to people, and I want to help other people too.
Yeah.
Like it, and if my own creativeness or projects are a part of that, then so be it, and that's great. But I want to see people be able to flourish creatively here too, because I feel like I said, Amarillo is a bubble, and trying to be creative here can kind of be put down sometimes.
Yeah. So we kind of had this conversation on the B side today.
Mm-hmm.
We recorded. The lady who came in and did her episode. We talked about if you woke up tomorrow with God King powers, aka $1 billion, what is some of the first stuff you would do? And part of that was we had part of the conversation was going to people and helping them fulfill their dreams, like finding that person. Hey, I remember that time I ran into you at a United, in United, and we talked about you wanted to be a director. Are you still into that? Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
We of course there was some more kind of like political / philanthropic things in there, but this was part of the conversation, and it was like, rise up the quote unquote weird of Amarillo, because
yes,
I think that was to your point. I think that's what it is Amarillo focuses, for some reason, this area focuses a lot on business.
Mm-hmm.
But we're good on business. Business is good here.
Yeah.
Like the one thing that we don't have is a great arts culture. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not to say we don't have any art culture. It's not to say we don't have any art culture. All right. But here's the thing. I'm not gonna say it's one dimensional, but it's just not as multifaceted as it should or could be, right? And I think we need to contribute to that. The problem is I think that they feel like, Amarillo feels like arts means, like, they make art political.
Yes. Yeah.
They make art political because if your art isn't conservative, or painting horses, or painting landscapes, and stuff like that, the southwestern turquoise jewelry, whatever it is, and that's again, there's nothing wrong with these things. There's just more things out there. Yeah, and I almost feel like it's even a bad business practice not to engage in the rest of that, because like all that stuff brings in money, and if you're about bringing in money, then like you should open the gate a little bit. But they don't want to do that, because it kind of, again, they make it political, and they try to shut it out. But in the I'm not going to get into the whole conversation, but we talked about new money versus old money. and stuff like that. And so, but yeah. So we just had a similar conversation today about everything that you just kind of talked about, really. And so that's kind of funny for me. It came around full circle. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I mean, we've been here for a little minute.
Have we?
It's where are we at? Hour and a half.
Okay.
I thought it was longer than it was, but no, we talked about some good stuff. Like I really appreciate you coming on the show. I've been wanting to get you on the show. Like I said, you were one of the people that I was excited to come back to Amarillo and like be around because like I said, you're a Renaissance man. You create music, you produce, you do film production, and like that's I don't necessarily create music, but I'm a very musically inclined person. Like anywhere there's karaoke, I will be there.
Man, that's so funny you say that because that is so true. That is so true. You're definitely not afraid to karaoke or sing. I remember at the drop of a hat. I remember that. I distinctly remember that. Yeah, absolutely. Here's what I'll say. I'll let you wrap it up however you need to, man. But I watched the show, and here's what I'll say: when people give you flowers, or people try to appreciate that you're still here, let them. You don't have to linger on the sentiment or whatever. You just be like, hold on, this is another fish. You could just, hey, appreciate it, my guy, and then go back to what you're talking about. But I've your co-host on multiple occasions, at least 3, has been like, hey, I'm glad you're still here, and you ignore him every time, and I know why you do, and you try to move on, but hey, just let people love that you still here though, man.
Yeah. That's one thing I'm still working on.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. You know what I'm saying? But really, like, that's because I actually watched the show. Okay, and really though, like, it's because again, that's also a part of kind of showing up for ourselves.
True.
Even though we don't always feel lovable, because that's another thing about me. I don't feel lovable, right? But then, like, when people really try to love us, we don't really accept it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's hard. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I probably don't do the best at like practicing what I preach, but I think because of that, I would hope more people do it better than I do it.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so yeah. You know what I'm saying? Again, and like I said, I get it. You know, so just hey, appreciate it, my guy. And then just hey, keep it moving. You know what I mean? But like, it's okay for people to be, be glad that you're still here.
Yeah. Thank you for saying like that. That goes to show that Tvhead Jimmy is one of the most genuine people. Like he will tell it how it is, and like he's a very perceptive person. Please check out Records on Repeat, Intelligentsia Noir. I will post his links in the description. Follow this man. He's going to do really great things. He already does really great things. At some point we're going to collab on something. I know we
Absolutely will. We will.
And thank you for being here. I like to close it out with a cheers to the conversation because it's been
my
amazing.
guy. Damn. I'm talking about. Salute.